What's good, everybody? Welcome back to episode 13. This week, we're doing OC and Apollo Brown, Trophies. And I know I gave out my third one last week, but this is going to be a 10 out of 10 also, especially for me personally. I love albums and music like this. This is a deep listen. This is OC at its finest. Same with Apollo Brown. Apollo Brown and the production, 10 out of 10. OC, every word, 10 out of 10. He comes straight from his gut. One of the most authentic, purest lyricists, especially solo artists of all time. Part of the DITC collective. But this is his 6th solo album. So this is pretty much in the middle of his career. This is actually the first album I heard front to back by OC. For whatever reason, I slept on him for too long, but I found him just when I needed to. And as you can see, I've been a big fan of him. I got a lot of merch for this episode. I got a lot of his stuff, almost all of it. So like I said, this is his 6th solo album. Apollo Brown, who's from Detroit, produced this. OC is from Brooklyn. It's got 16 tracks, an intro with 15 full songs, no features. No rappers are on here. It's just OC holding it down. This was kind of like a return from a hiatus he took. I'm so glad he came back. I don't know if Apollo Brown sparked the battery in him, but ever since he did this album, he's been dropping music pretty consistently since. So let's just get into that real quick. His first album is Word Life. This came out in 1994. This is a 10 out of 10 also, absolute classic. This is the official artwork. I have it on vinyl also, but not with the official artwork, but it's got all the tracks. This album will never get old. I'll listen to this for the rest of my life. I'll get to this on another episode. Word Life, 1994. And then Jules. This is a 10 out of 10 also. OC is like number 7 on my top 10 of all time. OC is in my top 10. He fluctuates between 7 and 8 or 6, depending on where I put Homage and Master Ace. But yeah, I put OC over Nas, personally. I like OC. I listen to his music over and over and over again. And with age, it doesn't get it only gets better as I have more life experiences that I'm able to relate with. So with that being said, if you're in middle school or high school, you may not be able to really fully get what he's saying yet. But give it time, and he will be one of your favorites if you have the attention span and you're that kind of a listener that can really dissect what OC's getting at, because each song is different. He's got no limits to what he can do as a songwriter. And this album is ridiculous. Got DJ Premier on here a bunch of times. Freddie Fox is featured on here twice. I could talk about his other albums forever. But that's the second album, 1997, Jules. Then his third album, Bon Appetit, came out in 2001. This one's very slept on, but it's really dope also. Got a lot of Buck Wild on the production here. And Buck Wild did a majority of the production on this Word Life also. And he's part of DITC, so... he's one of the few DITC members that doesn't produce, and he just sticks to being a lyricist and artist, and he does that at the highest level. He's been like a top 5 influence on me personally for the past 10 years. Prior to that, Nas was like the guy I would go to for this kind of style. But OC, man, really made me delve further into who I am as an artist and helped me as a writer. And then... this album, he didn't officially release himself. I think this was released without his permission, and he would have changed a couple things, but it's a great album also called Star Child. Came out in 2005. Also, the same year, Smoke and Mirrors came out, and this is also a 10 out of 10 for me. This is one of the most important albums he made for my life personally. When I'm going through the deepest times of my life, this is what I listen to. Smoke and Mirrors, excellent, and Hieroglyphics helped him put this out. So the Hiero Imperium put this album out with OC. Shout out to Hieroglyphics for putting OC back on with one of the illest albums, timeless, really deep. This album is so great. Smoke and Mirrors. Then he ended up coming with The Oasis in 2009, which is a duo album with AG, who was in DITC also, from Showbiz and AG. So they're on every track. You got Static Selector, a bunch of newer producers on here as well as the DITC producers. Really dope. And then that brings us to our album of the week here, which is Trophies, which came out in 2012. So this is his 6th solo album. So you had the 5 solos I went through and the dual project with AG. But I got this on vinyl, CD, digital. This is, I'm glad I found these. We found these serendipitously in the stores, I believe. Unless I bought this online, the CD possibly. Spent a good amount on these. These are albums I meant to have for the rest of my life. And we'll get into the rest of that. I just want to go through the rest of his discography first because I have almost all of his stuff. 2014, he dropped Ray's Cafe, which is really dope as well. Oh yeah, and I had Jules on vinyl here and Smoke and Mirrors to my right here on vinyl as well. But Ray's Cafe, Ray West produced this. Way different sounding album. It's like you're actually sitting in a cafe having a cup of coffee, listening to OC rhyme over some like really smooth, laid back jazz loops, which is really dope. Ray West is a great producer. And this is the EP, the After Hours Ray's Cafe EP, which has the bonus tracks that are on here. So I got that on vinyl recently, which is dope. And then also, he did in 2015, the year after Ray's Cafe, Dive In, which is a really dope EP, probably my favorite EP of all time. By Debonair P on the beats, which is really dope. I think he's an overseas producer. 5 for 5 on the beats. There's only 5 tracks on there, but it's 5 for 5. One of my favorite EPs ever, and I bought that from OC personally. He was on Instagram trying to get off some of the merchandise he had at his house, and I ended up getting one of the last versions of Dive In, which is really dope. Then he goes into his solo album phase again. He's doing a 3-part series. He dropped the first part, Same Sun, Same Moon, in 2017, which I don't have. That's the only CD I don't have by him. But I have the second phase, A New Dawn, which came out in 2018, which is really dope. Only have it on CD, but I definitely need Same Sun, Same Moon on CD also. But prior to that, in 2017, he did a collaboration album called Perestroika with Apathy. Apathy is one of my favorite artists from Connecticut. Great producer, great MC. Also in Army of the Pharaohs and the Demigods. Check out Apathy if you don't know Apathy. One of the most dangerous lyricists ever. And he did this duo album with OC, Perestroika. 12 for 12 on here. Apathy did, I think, almost all the beats on here too. And OC, man, what a great combination. And that's honestly what kind of got me into OC, because I was such a huge Apathy fan, and Apathy was talking about doing this album with OC. So I went and I'm looking like into OC, and then I ended up finding Trophies. And then I'm listening to it, and I'm like, man, I can't really hear him and Apathy collabing, because they have like way different styles, but it works. It works really well, and it brought something different out of Apathy. Brought a little something different out of OC too, but OC is very consistent, and he don't fake the funk at all, man. He's one of the truest lyricists of all time. Then after that, in 2018, I said he dropped A New Dawn, and also later that year, Opium, which would be his latest release to date with P.F. Cutting on the beats. P.F. Cutting is a legendary producer. I heard him first on the Blase Blah album. Really dope, or Blase Blase, really dope album. But this Opium came out 2018, his latest release with OC. I think just 10 tracks on here, 9 tracks. Shorter, but definitely really dope. Highly recommend that one also. And I also have, this came out in 2011, but this is our unreleased, the Ozone Originals. This has 18 tracks of like back in the day unreleased demos and stuff that came out before his Word Life album. So that's really dope also. And I got Opium on vinyl. So all right, so now let's get into this album, because this album's so freaking good. Let's start with the first track, The Pursuit. Apollo Brown on the beats, as you're gonna hear, is perfect.
Whip shining when I pull up, greets and pounds with all of my life been a stand-up boom, I drive stretch far as the I-95, NASCAR affiliate with highway miles, but not attached to a sponsor. I'm what you call an independent delegate, kind of biased to Obama. Vernon Pirelli's breaking the law.
All right, next track, Prove Me Wrong. And this sample was flipped by Alchemist on Evidence's album, Whether or Not, for one of their most popular tracks. But this came out first in 2012, is when I first heard it. Apollo Brown did just as good of a job, in my opinion. Trophies.
From whence I came, express my pain, shape and mold my frame. I go by the name of OC, a PKA when on stage, plus in real life, this is my government title.
No doubt. And by the way, OC is his initials, like SC is my initials, Sam Correcchia. OC, he's Omar Cradle or Credle. Omar Cradle, I believe. And he's from Brooklyn, like I said. And this album came out on Mellow Music Group. Mellow Music Group was out some of the best hip-hop right now in modern times. In the past 10 years, Mellow Music Group has put out some of the best hip-hop, including last year. Bronze Nazareth and Recognize Ali, Season of the Seven. This album is incredible. I'd give this a 10 for a modern album too. This came out on Mellow Music Group last year. And then also this came out on Mellow Music Group, I think, this year maybe. Or maybe it was last year. This is Beneficence and Confidence on the Beats. Incredible. I'd give this a 10 out of 10 too. This is a flawless album. Mellow Music Group puts out a lot of 10 out of 10s. And they also did some other Apollo Brown albums like the Mona Lisa with Joel Ortiz. We'll get into that too because I want to talk about Apollo Brown a little more after we get into some more of these beats. But Mellow Music Group is one of the few labels that could probably successfully put out SC Static's music. I may need to reach out to them because they seem like some of the only people that would really take a chance on somebody like me and put out some really quality music and actually sell a decent amount and be successful with it and have quality merch. Like, this is very high quality. All their stuff is very high quality. Mellow Music Group, check them out. Great artists, great producers, great albums. Timeless stuff. This next track's called Nautica. This is the 4th track. So we got the intro. We just went through the first 2. It's the 3rd track. Each track is different from the next. Some really deep songs on here, but some also really raw, hard songs on here too, like this one.
Buckets of rainbow, rip up screen doors, monsoon weather, howling like stray dogs, hell coming down the size of regulation baseballs.
Yo, he has very descriptive language. He doesn't always rhyme like in the pocket like a traditional rapper. Like, you gotta listen to what he's saying, man. He's like really using descriptive language outside of the box. You can tell he reads like novels too. He's almost like a novel writer, the way he writes albums. Like, each album is like a novel. Like, he's not just a rapper, he's like a writer. OC is incredible. This next track, another one of my favorites. OC is known for being a drinker mostly, but this song's about lighting up. You know, I love marijuana. I'm a marijuana advocate. This track's called Another One of my favorites.
Bud, wind down, give me a nice buzz. Few toes, eyes closed, and hell nice and slow. Got the salad, roll the bamboo. Electric relaxation or Mother Nature's volume straight from the earth. Got that medicine flowing through my veins since birth. Prescribed seeds coming gold and green. Personal use,
not for sale.
Purchase a nice bell, rather spend it on this than buying some
Cocktails, yes indeed.
The essence I breathe is a pleasure
I crave when I light up the blaze. When it's down to the roach, I light another one. Okay? Next track is Disclaimer. This one's really raw. Okay, next track, We the People, one of my favorites. This one's really deep. I was looking for this beat to use on Head Nod Music Volume 2. I don't think I found it, or I just chose to use the other one. I don't know, I think I had 2 or 3 beats on this album and ended up choosing the formula, but this was called We the People. Love this shit. Apollo Brown killing these beats, man.
Constitutional creeds, what you believe. Nowadays it's a different type breed. Declared independence on these hard knock streets. Laws have the force, yet young as whole heat. Grandma scared to walk last week. She was robbed by a thief. People dying
over frivolous beef. Respect is minimal. People hold more respect for a criminal. Friend of yours, trust waivers. The arms of Bishop. If you've seen Juice, you already know, man. So, like, if you don't get his references, it's probably because you didn't see what he's referencing. But, like, just listen to him, and if he's too deep for you, listen to him again a couple years from then. Because, man, I don't want you to miss out on this. Because he has some of the best music one-on-one if you listen to it. It's not party music at all, as you could tell. This next track's called Signs.
Knowing too much, dangerous. Someone die in their sleep when many have died painful. Listen to whatever my brain say. I call it a case of intuition when I listen to anything. Modern day Rome with government and control. Politicians getting snagged in the neck. Cell phones from all sides. Watching this economy capsize. Youth is being baptized. Preach to rabbis. Spots getting blown. Boxes in the drag like cars getting towed. And they blame it on the cold. Rides in London. Smell of chaos and the air's quite pungent. Wars jumping off like bungee. Secret sex in the...
He gets deep, man. He gets deep. He's an educated man, self-educated. This track's called The First 48.
Yeah, living the street life. Not thinking about repercussions. Youngins nowadays be bugging. Too cool for school, not hearing the word you tell them. I try to take them out the rain and put them under my umbrella. To the wrong things exposed, their ears is closed. I let them know. Feels good, it keeps niggas on their toes. Not the type of fear of
Another man, of course.
See the hood is Van Damme, survival's a blood sport.
Next song, Angels Sing. One's a little deeper.
The holy waters in the Polish spring bottle. I squeeze it on Vance and ghouls and gargoyles. Pivot and move throughout Earth's four corners out the proof of a sleep. It's no longer dormant. Stay sharp and cautious. Get nauseous when a demon is close to my fortress. No bullshit. Everything you hear ain't the truth. Stop relying on the reverends. Preaching from the pulpits.
Next track, Just Walk.
Trophy music.
They had a video for this one. I think this was the first single.
Phenomenal. Disrespect's a no-no. I'm far from a homo. I see things coming. My heart pump no dose. Alpha male ego. Refuse to be played. Though I'm old and years, some things don't change. Bad habits die hard in regards to Bruce Willis. Not a felon. Don't cop please for my life to no killer.
Okay, like every track is really good. This is the album. If you don't listen to the full song, then there's no point in listening to it. Like, you gotta listen to every word, front to back. This album is incredible. And this next track is the beat I ended up using for Head On Music Volume 2. This track is called The Formula. And just to give you a little insight, this track he's paying homage to the DOC. The DOC only had one album, unfortunately, because he ended up losing his voice in a car accident, I believe. But this is Dr. Dre produced before, or like during the NWA time. This came out in 89, I believe. Yeah, 1989. One of the best albums to ever come out of the West Coast. One of the best albums in hip-hop history. The DOC, right here, man. No one can do it better. The name of the album here. And OC is paying homage to the DOC, because, you know, DOC and he's OC. So he's saying, you know, kind of inspired him to stick with his initials and his name. It's also included in the DOC's name. And there's a track on here called The Formula, which Dr. Dre is on the chorus saying, The Formula. And he had Apollo Brown kind of mimic that and say The Formula on the hook also. And OC is paying tribute to the DOC all over this track and kind of comparing how parallel their styles and like how much hip-hop means to them and how much DOC influenced OC into becoming the guy he is. And here's that track off this album. He's so good, man. I wish he was able to. He ended up ghostwriting for like some of your favorite songs. He didn't stop making music. He just wasn't able to be the rapper. He wasn't able to be the front man anymore. But he did a lot of ghostwriting for some of your favorite Dr. Dre tracks. And when you hear him say Dr. Dre, say the DOC, apparently the DOC was like writing his name in the verses all the time to shout himself out, which is kind of funny. And Dr. Dre was like rolling his eyes about it. Like, yeah, he had me mention the DOC again in the verse, because he's writing those verses. So shout out to the DOC, shout out to OC, and this track is The Formula. I ended up using it, making a song about my parents. The track is called Priceless, basically saying how the way they raised me with morals and integrity and to treat women with respect. I also have 2 older sisters. I'm the youngest of 3. Like, I just don't do that locker room talk. I don't do that, like, sleep around with women shit. I don't respect it, and I don't like it on either side. If you're being scandalous like that and you're selling yourself short, fuck that. You know, and my music reflects that. I never talk about women in a fucking... That one track I did, the Sugar Daddy song, like, that's not my song. That's the song I did for somebody else, and I still respected women the whole time. You can check the lyrics. But I stand by everything I say, but I'm just saying, so does OC. He's not one of those people disrespecting women in his lyrics, and neither am I. And the track I did, Priceless, I'm going to try to do a video for, get it out to you by this weekend. But that's inspired by OC, to be able to talk real vulnerable about things like, you know, being proud that my parents stayed together and are good people and raised me to be a good person. That shouldn't be, like, not allowed in hip-hop. Fuck that. Fuck that. If you think you're hardcore because, like, the opposite of that, then, like, yeah, dude, you probably had a harder life than me in some ways, but you couldn't last a day in my shoes either. Don't get it twisted. Imagine trying to be a rapper in my shoes, doing it the way I'm doing. Fuck out of here. You wouldn't do this at all. You wouldn't do this at all. You would have sold out so long ago or just stopped doing it. I have more integrity than any artist right now. Like, I have the more songs written than any 30-year-old on the planet. I put my life on it. I've been humble for too long, and honestly, man, y'all are sleeping on me, and y'all are sleeping on the best. But fuck that, man. I ain't conforming, bro. You can't get me to conform. Because guys like OC showed me that there's a way to do it without doing that shit. And this track's a perfect example of the formula.
This is one of my heroes. Pay homage, brought me one step closer to the MC's cover. Drop the D, and what it reads is OC. It's acronym, it's no one can do it better. My acronym is OQ, Empire State, windows on the world. One day I caught a view, saying to myself, I can do this. Mom's a singer, and my DNA is rooted. The first LP proved it, with no guest appearances. God give a gift to be a lyricist. Right alongside the best out. It's my spot in the game, alleviating doubt. Knowledge in the rhythm that my mama had born. The hungry goes unlimited flows of science. I morphed into a formula.
Okay? So just beautiful, beautiful song, beautiful music. Glad I got to use that beat. This next track's called People's Champ. We're winding down here on the album. Rappers with a lot to lose, pop shit and hide behind dudes. That's why they down with crews. Conceive is sin, non-matrimony against the Bible's creed and God's rights fully. There was a time when I freaked with wet willies down in MIA with a spot with Nick colors yellow. Damn. Next track's called Options. Apollo Brown, man, I'm telling you. Tiger and a New York Yank. The combination be equivalent to cash in the bank. This is classic in front of a mic. When my name said, the understanding is when his flow is like 8 said. I'll gladly oblige the ones feeling. This really is classic material, man. These guys probably knew while they were recording this that they had something good, man. This is timeless. This could have came out in any year. The song's called Caught Up. Like I was saying, man, he's trying to warn y'all. He's trying to warn young women about these guys out here with dogs. Girls out here looking for a father figure they didn't have. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of music he makes. You know? Fuck that shit that does the other stuff, man. I hate that shit. Fantastic. This is the next track, second to last track. Enable me to still do what I do at the drop of a hat. Dead or in jail if it wasn't for rap. Or a federal cell growing up a young black male. My decisions were my own. I'm blessed and I get fed from a silver spoon. It might have spoiled my goals. My debut, it came straight from the soul. To tell it how I see it, I'm blinded with mind control. Could have easily adapted the trends, chasing them ends, which is today's cardinal sin. Started to end. Album number 2, Jewels guarding me praise. And solidify my
my spot as a force to be reckoned. Now die hard checking for me, showing me love when I'm out and about. Cars pass shouting me out. Things get to clicking with vinyl with CDs start moving. Change is looming, time consuming, huh? With a slight edge of popularity comes with a taste of power that can fuck up your head. Moved on to my third LP. Bon Appetit was a miss. Failure, that was the talk in the streets. I took it as a slap in the face.
So he's talking about his career and how Word Life and Jules did well, and then Bon Appetit didn't do as well, and he took it as a slap in the face. Just talking about the ups and downs of this life and his journey, what he's went through. And that's actually the last track, but I have the bonus track called The Biggest Loser, which isn't on the vinyl or the CD, but I saw they did a bonus track for this album. But Fantastic is a great outro for this album. Perfect way to end it. But The Biggest Loser is also worth checking out too as a bonus track. Really deep.
Get a grip on life like Jack the Ripper's knife. I leave a mark with a lifetime scar. Work to alarm, blessed to be accepted. My path was destined. Told y'all I was chose when I first heard the message. Yeah, of little faith will not be successful. There's an agenda, a path and a protocol. All must follow, if not, get swallowed. Feeding off bullshit gives me power. In more ways you can never imagine.
Really deep. Like I said, when I'm going through really tough times in life, I put on OC. Specifically, Trophies and Smoke and Mirrors. When I'm going through my toughest times, I put on these, man. These really helped me. You could tell he went through some shit to be able to create these. He had some real life experiences that he captured in these albums. To me, these are very underrated albums of his because he's pretty known for this. These are classics. He's very well known for these. Got slept on for Bon Appetit. And then I think ever since he's been kind of slept on because these two are phenomenal. Especially this, man. Don't sleep on this. And then also, shout out to the Perestroika with the Apathy, man. This shit is crazy. But back to Apollo Brown, I just wanted to mention, aside from Trophies, this was the first album I heard by Apollo Brown. So naturally, I went and looked for more. The second album would end up being Raz-Kaz, Blasphemy. This is Apollo Brown and Raz-Kaz. This is a 10 out of 10 also. This is one of my favorite albums, like, ever, also. This shit is so good. And it features a lot of great MCs also. But, man, Apollo Brown destroyed the beats on here. And this was, like, my introduction to Raz-Kaz, too. So, like, Raz-Kaz and OC were, like, introduced to me through Apollo Brown. I already knew Joell Ortiz, but the Mona Lisa album is a 10 out of 10 also. This shit is so good. I recommend it to everybody. And then also Planet Asia and Apollo Brown, Anchovies. This shit is so fucking good too. I might give this a 10 also. It's definitely a 9 point something. But yeah, this shit is so fucking good also. I'm a huge Planet Asia fan, so when I saw that him and Apollo Brown were linking up, I was already familiar with both of them. So this was like the first release where I was like anticipating Apollo Brown. But these two, I had to go back and realize how great Apollo Brown is. Yeah, I recommend these two first. Trophies and Blasphemy. Raz-Kaz and OC right here. Two of my favorites of all time. And then he also has compilation albums. It's called The Grandeur. Yeah, check out everything else Apollo Brown's been doing. And he has a Detroit compilation album because he's from Detroit. Got a lot of dope Detroit MCs on here. Royce da 5'9", One Below, Elzai, all that good stuff. He has an album with Guilty Simpson too, who's from Detroit. He has an album with Sky Zoo. He's got a bunch more albums too, other people, but yo, check out Apollo Brown, man. That guy will not lead you wrong. He's one of the best producers right now in hip hop, doing that boom bap at the highest level in the purest way, making that vinyl sound still. And man, shout out to OC, like I said, number 7 in my top 10 of all time. He's got the best like solo discography almost out of anybody, especially when you're talking about coming from the heart and really like helping you out through life, you know what I mean? Not just background distraction music or just, you know, feel good music. It's like real deep music. Shout out to Mellow Music Group too. And until next time, the homage continues, episode 13. Peace.